Shavua Tov, everyone. Welcome to Tillis Tell Stories for Saturday night. The title of this week's video is Jesting in Earnest. I expanded and supplemented it from the translation by Rebbe Uri Kaplun of Sepuri Hasidim by the great Rabbi S.Y. Zevin, called A Treasury of Hasidic Tales. It was a sad story that this penniless chassid brought to his Rebbe, Rebbe Shlomo of Radomsk. His daughter was of marriageable age, and he did not know where to begin to find all the money needed for her dowry and the wedding. All this was written out in the note which he handed to the Rebbe. Rebbe Shlomo HaKohen Rabinovitz of Radomsk was the author of the well-respected book of Hasidic teachings, Tiferet Shlomo. His speaking ability and musical voice and his divine inspiration attracted thousands of Hasidic followers, while many scholars also became disciples due to his Torah brilliance and Kabbalah allusions. It is known that he sent money to one of his Hasidim in Tzfat, Israel, where we live, so that the latter could organize the Radomska third meal towards the end of the Shabbat at which his Nigunim would be sung. He passed away on the 29th of Adar, 1866, 2 weeks before El Pesach, the night of the Seder night. The tzaddik read the note through and exclaimed, "What is this I read here about your being a poor man? You had better leave my house at once, for our sages teach us that a pauper is accounted as if dead." The source of that is, you can find in Exodus 4, verse 19, in Rashi commentary. A poor man is like dead, and I am a Kohen, one of the priestly family, who may not be defiled by exposure to the dead. The man ran out from sheer fright, but the tzaddik called after him, "Come now, come back. This must surely be a case of a met mitzvah, the dead body that in itself becomes a mitzvah because it can't be attended to by anyone else, either because of location or knowledge or whatever reason it is, and the only one who can deal with it properly is the Kohen. That is nearby. In such a case, the Kohen is allowed to defile himself." And that you can find in Rashi on this week's Parsha, Emor, the book of Vayikra, Leviticus, chapter 21, verse 1, the first verse in the Torah reading that we read on Shabbat. Those present laughed at his seeming jests, little suspecting there was more to come. The tzaddik addressed himself another time to the poor fellow. "You are worrying about marrying off your daughter? Tell me, do you have bread to eat?" "To tell the truth," stammered the pauper, "I haven't." "But you do say the Hamotzi blessing over bread every day, don't you? So where do you get the bread for that?" "Most of it comes from my wife. She works and earns a little." "What a fine business," cried the Rebbe. "His wife supports him. Shouldn't we be warned by the example of Adam, the first man whose wife gave him something to eat?" As Genesis chapter 3, verse 6, which I'm sure you're familiar with. And this fellow says that his wife supports him and gives him provides his food. Tell me, how does your wife earn her income? "She goes to all the courtyards," which in Hebrew is chatzerot. Chatzer is one courtyard. Chatzerot is the plural. "She goes to all the chatzerot of the aristocrats in the area, sells vegetables and whatever, and earns a little from that," the pauper replied. "If so," the tzaddik says, "we have a verse in the Torah, the first verse in the fifth book of the Torah, Devarim, Deuteronomy, chapter 1, verse 1, which lists place names. And there it says, chatzerot, V'di Zahav, and that if she goes to Chatzirot, she will no doubt encounter Di Vahav, literally ample gold. Because they sound very close, the word for courtyard, Chatzirot, and the name of the place, Chatzirot. So go home in peace, my good man, and the Almighty will help you, and your wife will prosper with V'di Zahav, ample gold." But when he came home and his wife asked him what he brought back from the Rebbe, he didn't know what to answer. How could he possibly explain all these clever remarks? Oh. After some time, his wife came home with a package and said, "Look here, today I found this thing lying about in the mud." They opened it and found 300 rubles, quite a large sum for those days. Probably equivalent to about $30,000. Half of it they spent, half of it they set aside for their daughter's dowry and the wedding expenses, and with the rest, the happy man set up a little business in which he prospered for the rest of his life. After the passing of Rebbe Shlomo of Radomsk, this chassid came to visit his son and successor to be a chassid of him, that is Rabbi Avraham Yisachar, and told him the above episode. "My father," said the tzaddik, "was a remarkable man. Every expression of his supernatural powers and his divine inspiration he managed to clothe in jests and witticisms, so that no one should detect that there was anything miraculous going on." Shavua Tov, everyone. Keep in mind, next Saturday night is Lag BaOmer, the Hilula, the celebration of the day of Rabbi Shimon Bar Yochai, who is buried near to Sfat in nearby Meron, and that just before his passing, he gave him many of the secrets that are enclosed in the Zohar. So for next Saturday, all three stories will be on 1, 2, or 3 of these topics: Rabbi Shimon, the Zohar, Meron. Lag Sameach.